A few weeks ago, we already had our first glance at Alphacool's core series of fans. Incredibly interesting little things. Alphacool just took everything away and only kept the performance and the fact that it has 4 holes. Boom, high performance fan with the price of a cheeseburger. Not everything was perfect. Their noise to performance ratio was, well, but that was kinda foreseeable. In the end, Nokia researches the crap out of their fans, and that definitely reflects in the price. But not core. No, core products are just the product. Core function with high performance, great for server environments or people who are on a tight budget but do not want to lose any performance. Meet the Alphacool Core Ocean T38 360mm AIO, a 38mm thick radiator equipped with 3 Alphacool Core 120 2500 RPM fans at max 62.8 CFM at 2.13mm of H2O. Let's take a look at the benchmarks. Allowing the 3 fans to spin at their max speed allowed the T38 in 360 to cool down the 135 watts load to 47.1 degrees C above ambient. This places it 1.1 degrees C behind the Arctic Liquid Freezer 360 ARGB and in between the Fantex Glacier 1360 and Xilinx LQ 360. Now this is actually quite the interesting result. Although the result isn't bad because it's right in there with the other higher class 360s, but considering that it's a 38mm thick radiator, I kinda expected it to be more at a Arctic Liquid Freezer 360 level or even higher, considering that the fans are significantly faster. But okay, that's just the result, it's okay, just not shockingly good. Moving on to noise to performance, by reducing the fan speed in 10% increments or decrements. But before we do that, I have to quickly add something. We are pushing 135 watts for our cooler benchmarks, and given how much a 3900K is burning nowadays, or any other CPU for that matter, I believe that it's just not enough. We are working on a new setup as we speak. As soon as the last video using a 3900K is filmed, it's going right into that and it will stay there until the day it dies. But because we are using only 135 watts, coolers can create a line looking like this. Now this is only an example, but it does show after reducing and reducing and reducing the fan speed, the overall cooler becomes quieter but not hotter, which can mean 2 things. Either the heatsink or the radiator in this case is just crap and it can't get the heat out anyway, or that there is just not enough heat for the heatsink or radiator to get the work done properly. And the reason I'm saying this is because the Alphacool Core in 360 created the longest freaking line I have ever seen. I had to squeeze the crap out of this line to get it on this graph. Truth is, most AIOs we have tested have this line, but never to this extent. It took 50% of the fan's max speed, because yes, the pump is always running at 100%, but it took 50% to make the temperature change at all. That's incredible, and given the fact that Alphacool makes some pretty good radiators out there, I just don't believe that this is a bad heat transfer issue. I think that this thing needs 175, 200 watts to properly show its worth. But let's forget that for a minute and just look at how it's made its way through the 135 watts load. Well, not particularly well. The only AIO it was able to beat was the ASA Blizzard 360, one of the worst AIOs I have seen until today. But hey, at least it was capable of beating a Nokia NHD15 until this point. Yeah, it's really a problem point. Ignoring if there is or if there is no additional performance headroom when used with higher power chips, this is the absolute lowest point the AIO went at 10% of the max PWM settings. And this point is quite a lot higher than any other cooler on the list, including the Nokia NHD15, and that's quite the problem. Now we still need to keep in mind what this is. It's a core product, nothing fancy, no optimizations, no extras, just performance and a good price tag. And it does do that. However, it comes with the exact same issue as the Core fans did. It's just hella loud. Its noise to performance ratio lost against basically everything comparable. But before we draw any conclusions, let's take a closer look at this AIO. Inside the very eco-friendly box, no, I'm joking, I genuinely like it. I like how I did this, but this is eco-friendly as hell. Anyway, inside the box we will get the AIO itself with the fans separately packaged. Then we got a big bag of mounting hardware for every LGA 1150, 1200 and 1700, and then 2066 or AM4 and AM5. But hey, at least we got screws, something that Core fans did not come with. Before we continue, let's take a look at how to mount this thing. And let me tell you, it's the same mounting mechanic as Alphacool uses for their Waterblocks. To get it going on an Intel LGA 1700 socket, we first need to take the LGA 1700 bracket and then cramp them onto the Waterblock pump combo. From there, we need to take the Intel backplate and position the holes so that they align with the LGA 1700 mounting holes, and then do yourself a favor and glue the backplate on by removing the protective film from the glue strips. I'm just not doing it here because I need to remove it immediately afterwards. Now we can prepare the screws. So what I like to do is position them with their heads down, add the spring, then the washer, and then repeat that 4 times. From there, take the whole thing and screw it down. And yes, because it's a mounting way without any protection, absolutely do use a cross pattern, turn by turn, switch those goddamn screws, and please do not over tighten them. Use an electric screwdriver and you will probably break something. Over on AMD it's going to be just as fun. First we need to remove the pre-installed retention brackets, and then we can cramp in the AMD mounting plate. How fun was that? Then we can prepare the screws, but don't be too quick, because this time we need to add the spring, then the 2mm thick plastic washer, and then the 0.5mm thick metal washer, because that just makes so much sense. And of course, do that 4 times. From there, screw in each screw, again cross pattern, again do not go electric, and just caution. Just to give you a heads up, if you're installing it with the PC standing, forget it. It's not going to work. The tension of the tubes on the block will just be too big to mount that thing properly. It's a nightmare. Just lay it on the back, or do it outside of the case and then move the whole thing in. Never do it standing. But back to the AIO. The tubes it comes with are 400mm long, sleeved and adjustable at the Waterblock. Not bad, but 400mm are a bit too short for what I do like, and they do feel incredibly cheap. Like, you can feel this is Core. Yeah. But let's now take a look at the Waterblock pump combo, because that one is the only thing about this that is not Core at all. Actually, I do think it's quite beautiful. I like it. It's very simple. It has a big ass copper base, and then it has a very nice looking thin ARGB line going all around it, with an additional little triangle on the side. I do like that. It's controllable over a 3-pin ARGB for the light and a 4-pin PWM for the speed, which is totally fine. And I think it does look quite awesome. Simple but beautiful. As mentioned in the beginning, the fans used on here are the 2500 RPM quick Alphacool Core 120 fans. Very good for the price, but they come with a huge issue in form of noise to performance. And if you haven't seen the dedicated review yet, make sure to watch it after this one, but I think the noise to performance graph of the AIO already kind of shows what I'm talking about. But okay, where do we stand? Performance-wise, for a 360, it's and 135 watts, it's okay for a 360, but it's definitely not sensational. It should have been a lot quieter at some point, especially given the fact that it has a 38mm thick radiator. And you need to keep that in mind, because it's just like for an Arctic liquid freezer. If there is not enough space in your case, which happens quite often for the top, that thing will just not go in there. It's 38 plus 25, keep that in mind. Noise to performance, it's the same thing like for the Core lineup fans. It's just not good enough, but it's the price tag gives it a reason to be there. But what about build quality? The rad and pump feel pretty alright. It's a bit on the plastic side, but it's still survivable. I hate the way that it's mounted down, I truly do, but I also survived that. But the tubes also feel incredibly cheap. There is just nothing about them that makes me think performance, not at all. But what about the price? Because after all, the Core's biggest selling feature was always the price. $84 as of writing the script, which is a very good price, and let's put this into perspective, because an Arctic Liquid Freezer 360 will put you back 119, which so far sounds amazing. It sounds like a hella good bang for the buck. The problem is just that a Xilinx Liquorizer 360 costs less, $5 less. Now this could still change. Give us a month or two to get that 300 watts test bench running, cause it's possible that things like the Core 38 will outperform the other ones significantly due to their size at some point if the load gets higher. It's possible or not, I just don't know yet and I don't want to make any assumptions, but as far as today is concerned, it's not the value king for things that are pushing 135 watts. The Liquorizer still is. But okay, this should be it for Alphacool and their Core Ocean T38 in 360mm. On a side note, we also have a Discord server, so if you want to join, the link is down below. And of course, we still have channel membership, so if you're looking for a good way to sell your soul for an RG poop emoji, that's a pretty good way to go. Additionally, you can rest assured that the income will not only keep the channel afloat, but it will also serve to get some Febreze Air Ocean. Because I got the feeling that I can push this thing's performance just a tiny bit by spraying it with some Febreze Air Ocean. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you want to continue, have a look at our take on the Alphacool Core 120mm fan in 2500 RPM individually, the one that is on here. It was an interesting experience. Hope to see you in the next one, and bye bye.